Get out of my lobby. This place isn't for people like you. Those words weren't a slip of the tongue. They were policy, blunt, cold, and clearly memorized long ago. Mark Sanders, the manager of the Grand Skyline Hotel in downtown Seattle, stood behind the front desk with his arms folded, judgmental eyes fixed on her. He didn't whisper, he didn't hide, he spoke loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. He looked her up and down, the black woman in simple attire, and immediately decided she didn't belong in this luxury establishment. What he didn't know was that in exactly 5 minutes, the woman standing before him would be firing him and his entire staff, right here in the lobby where he had intentionally humiliated her in front of everyone. The main doors swung open. A young woman entered, dressed extremely plainly. She wore a plain white blouse and unremarkable shoes, no designer bag, no flashy jewelry, yet each step she took radiated absolute confidence, a powerful aura that made the heads turn twice. This was Mia Bennett, the formidable CEO behind the prestigious Skyline hospitality chain. But today, she'd left her title at home. She approached the desk slowly and politely. As she neared, the skeptical gazes of the receptionist snapped to her. At the center stood Mark Sanders, handsome, but icy and proud. Beside him, Jessica Morgan and Ryan Mitchell, two young front desk clerks, watched wearily. When Mia stopped at the desk, an oppressive silence fell over the space. She spoke, her voice calm, polite, yet crystal clear. I have a reservation for the penthouse suite. The name is Mia Bennett. Mark didn't answer immediately. His eyes swept her body with blatant contempt. Other guests began to notice, conversations hushing as curious glances settled on her and the receptionists. He leaned forward, his tone dismissive, yet audible to the entire lobby. Are you sure you're in the right place? The penthouse suite isn't for people like you. Those cutting words sparked a murmur of gossip across the lobby. Jessica smirked with derision while Ryan feigned interest in his computer screen. Though the silence lasted mere seconds, to Mia it felt like an eternity. She tilted her head, meeting Mark's gaze without flinching, only calm resolve and confident defiance in her eyes. Maybe you ought to check your system before you say something like that, she replied, her tone gentle but firmer. Mark let out a mocking chuckle. No need to check. I know my clientele. Clearly you are not one of them. His declaration hushed the lobby. Mia remained silent, noting Jessica's contemptuous curl of the lip and Ryan's deferential glance toward Mark. A few guests grew uncomfortable. Some pulled out their phones to record. Mia sensed the tension rising but did not waver. After a waited moment, she spoke again, this time with icy precision. I suggest you pull up my reservation one last time, or you'll regret those words. Mark stood unmoved, arms still crossed, eyes challenging. I have no reason to. You should leave before we call security. Mia did not raise her voice or hurriedly defend herself. Instead, she slowly retrieved her phone, never averting her gaze from Mark. Mr. Sanders, she said clearly, you just made the biggest mistake of your career. Her measured words seemed to freeze the lobby. Other guests watched in silence, uncertain what would happen next. But all understood this, the unassuming woman before them was not to be underestimated. At the far corner of the lobby, Olivia Gray, a well-known travel blogger, began capturing the scene on her camera. Whispering to her friend Ethan Brooks, she said, "It looks like we're witnessing something far bigger than a simple misunderstanding." Little did she know, those whispers would soon prove prophetic. The woman standing at the desk owned the entire Grand Skyline chain, and in just a few minutes, those who had dared to demean her would pay the price with their careers. Mia remained standing, her cold gaze locked on Mark, the air between them growing denser and more suffocating than ever. The light from the crystal chandelier above washed faintly across Mark's face, accentuating the smug irritation etched in his features. Mia didn't need to raise her voice or make a scene, her powerful silence was enough to unnerve him. Finally, to shatter the oppressive quiet, Mia slowly set her phone down and reached into her pocket for a compact leather wallet. She gently withdrew a sleek black credit card, her name embossed in gleaming silver letters, along with a simple but elegantly designed ID. Mark looked at the two items. As if they'd arrived from another planet, reluctantly, he took them, suspicion and malicious doubt written all over his face as he scrutinized every letter on the card and ID far more closely than necessary. "Miss Bennett, right," Mark drawled, deliberately stretching out her last name as though it were a joke. "I'm sorry, but I don't recall seeing this name on our VIP list." Another wave of murmurs swept through the lobby, louder and more pointed this time, as curious guests watched the scene unfold. Seizing the moment, Ryan Mitchell, still hovering just behind Mark, spoke up, eager to show blind loyalty to his boss. "Mr. Sanders, we should double-check our records," he said, his tone dramatic rather than sincere. Ryan snatched the card from Mark's hand with a brusque flourish. "This card looks suspicious." Mark gave a cold, triumphant smile and turned back to Mia. "You understand this is just standard procedure. Guest security is our highest priority." Before he could finish the sentence, Jessica Morgan lifted her phone to the walkie-talkie at her belt and called out loud enough for all to hear, "Security to the front desk immediately. We have a guest requiring urgent ID verification." All eyes snapped back to Mia. Some guests shook their heads in silent disapproval but dared not intervene. Olivia Gray continued filming, her face a mask of outraged disbelief at the blatant injustice. Meanwhile, Ryan carried Mia's precious black credit card over to the small safe built into the reception desk. With a crisp click, he opened it, placed the card inside, and locked it again, each gesture staged for maximum humiliation. "We must retain this card for verification," he announced. "It's our anti-fraud policy here at the Grand Skyline." Mia fixed Ryan with a steely stare, her anger perfectly controlled beneath her calm exterior. She stepped closer and spoke, her voice low, but every word audible. "Consider this your final warning, Ryan. You will pay dearly for this decision." Ryan blinked at her intensity but quickly recovered his arrogant posture, chin raised. "I'll remember your warning, Miss Bennett. But right now, you have no authority to threaten me." At that moment, a team of security officers entered the lobby and formed a line behind Mia, awaiting Mark's orders. The tension peaked as Mark raised his hand to signal them forward. "Miss Bennett, you may step outside now, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures. This is your final warning." But instead of backing down, Mia offered a faint, icy smile, sharp as a blade. Her gaze swept over Jessica and Ryan before settling on Mark's smug face. "You will regret this. Don't say I didn't warn you." Each word landed like a prophecy of the storm about to break over them. Yet Mark, Jessica, and Ryan didn't realize they had just unlocked the door to their own downfall. Mia was no ordinary guest. She was the true power behind the Grand Skyline chain they served. As Mia stood in silent command, Olivia and her friend Ethan continued their live stream. Olivia's voice trembled with righteous anger. "Everyone, we're witnessing a shockingly humiliating scene at Seattle's Grand Skyline Hotel. Share this now, no one can let this slide." And so the seeds of public outrage were sown, ready to erupt and sweep away the arrogant, prejudiced few daring to stand in Mia Bennett's way. The moment Mia's chilling warning rang out, Olivia Gray glanced at her companion and assistant, Ethan Brooks. Neither could believe what they were witnessing. Olivia gave Ethan a subtle signal to keep recording. He understood immediately, raising his phone and adjusting the frame to capture the entire Grand Skyline Hotel lobby, now the stage for a truly shocking event. Olivia quickly tapped Go Live, inhaled deeply, and began speaking with just enough emotion to convey the tension and injustice unfolding. "Everyone, Ethan and I are here at the Grand Skyline Hotel in downtown Seattle. We're witnessing a serious incident of prejudice and discrimination live on camera. The woman you see standing there, calmly but with undeniable presence, has been treated in the most insulting way by this hotel's management." In an instant, the live stream's view count exploded. Comments flooded in, angry emojis popping up one after another. Olivia swung the camera to Mark Sanders, Jessica Morgan, and Ryan Mitchell, who stood behind the desk with smug, contemptuous expressions. Ryan, realizing he was on camera, didn't back down. He smirked, leaning forward and shouting into the lens, "Go ahead and film all you want." We're just following protocol to protect our genuine guests. Mark crossed his arms, clearly proud of Ryan's boldness, then turned back to Mia and amplified the insult. You need to face reality, Miss Bennett. This hotel is for the right class of people. Unfortunately, you're not one of them. Guests around the lobby froze, watching in stunned silence. Some whispered their disapproval, others looked bewildered. This was not what they expected at a luxury hotel like the Grand Skyline. Meanwhile, Olivia and Ethan's viewer count had surged into the thousands. Comments poured in, unbelievable, a famous hotel acting like this, she's so composed, I couldn't stay that calm, share this everywhere. Olivia quickly scanned a few comments, then whispered to Ethan. Ethan panned to the safe. They've locked her credit card inside. Ethan complied, framing the cold steel safe beneath the desk, a stark symbol of injustice. He narrated clearly into the live stream, look at this. They've confiscated this guest's credit card with no valid reason. And she's standing there facing it all with incredible poise. We can't believe what's happening. The tension in the lobby ratcheted up another notch. A middle-aged man nearby stepped forward and spoke quietly, but still within Ethan's shot, Mr. Sanders, maybe you should stop. This could seriously damage the hotel's reputation. Mark waved him off dismissively, arrogance in his eyes. I know what I'm doing. If she were innocent, she wouldn't be arguing here. Mia heard every cutting remark but remained ice-cold and composed, letting their own actions indict them. Inside, though, she was already plotting her next move. Olivia refocused the camera on Mia, her voice trembling with both anger and admiration. Everyone, look at this woman. Despite being publicly humiliated, she hasn't lost her composure. I don't know who she is, but I'm certain we're witnessing someone extraordinary, with unmatched inner strength. Suddenly, a highlighted comment flashed by, which Ethan read aloud, I recognize her. That's Mia Bennett, the CEO of Skyline Hospitality, owner of this entire hotel chain. Olivia and Ethan stared at each other in astonishment. The revelation ignited the live stream. Shares soared and thousands of new comments poured in. Oh my God, they just humiliated their own CEO. Those employees' careers a toast. We're watching history in real time. Regaining her composure, Olivia addressed the feed with newfound authority. Breaking news, the woman you're seeing is Mia Bennett, the owner of the Grand Skyline hotel chain. Share this live stream now. This truth needs to be exposed. In the lobby, expressions shifted from skepticism to horror as Mark, Jessica, and Ryan realized the magnitude of their mistake. They hadn't made a small error, they'd ignited a storm that would sweep away everything they'd built. While the murmurs and shocked glances still swirled around her, Mia Bennett stood perfectly still. For a brief moment, her eyes flickered with something unspoken. Olivia Gray's words, that woman is Mia Bennett, the owner of the Skyline hotel chain, echoed in her mind. But Mia was pulled back into a memory she thought she'd buried deep. In that instant, time rewound more than a decade to a small suburb outside Atlanta. On a bitter winter's night, heavy snow blanketed the icy street. Mia, barely in her 20s and fresh out of college, carried a burning dream of building her own business. Yet at that moment, her dream felt impossibly distant. She was just an unknown young woman, no fame, no influence, and painfully, not worthy of staying in any upscale hotel. She remembered that night vividly. Her old car had stalled in the freezing cold, and Mia had trudged through the blizzard to a tiny roadside inn, begging for a room. The receptionist's cold contempt cut deep into her soul. I'm sorry, but we don't accept guests like you, he sneered, eyeing her from head to toe with blatant disdain. Guests like me? Mia had asked, her voice trembling with cold and outrage. You know exactly what I mean, he replied, turning away and leaving her shivering in shame. That night, Mia spent huddled in her car, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. The isolation, the abandonment, the humiliation, they left a scar she would never forget, but also ignited a fierce determination in her heart. On that frigid, lonely night, she vowed never to allow anyone else to endure such pain. She promised herself that if she ever had the power to change things, she would create a place where every person, rich or poor, regardless of appearance, would be treated with absolute respect. And now, standing in the luxurious lobby of the Grand Skyline Hotel, the empire she'd built, the bitter memory surged back with full force, but this time she was no longer helpless. She was Mia Bennett, the powerful CEO of one of America's most prestigious hotel chains, with the strength to redefine the present. Yet before her, Mark Sanders, Jessica Morgan, and Ryan Mitchell were reenacting her worst nightmare. Their words and contemptuous stares cut into her old wound as sharply as any knife. Ryan, with a smirk, deliberately raised his voice for all to hear. "Stop the theatrics. This isn't for people pretending to be wealthy." Jessica stood nearby, arms crossed, her cold, satisfied smile more chilling than any insult. Meanwhile, Mark Sanders reveled in his perverse display of power, standing tall and proud as if to announce, "I am in control here." But Mia knew true power doesn't lie in cruel words or arrogance. True power is the ability to face injustice and refuse to bow. She'd learned that power through tears and icy nights in a broken-down car, and today she would use it to end a legacy of prejudice and unfairness. Mia's gaze sharpened with resolve. She lifted her chin, letting the chandelier's light illuminate her determined face. In a voice as calm as it was unyielding, she declared, "Mark, Ryan, Jessica, you picked the wrong person to insult today. What's happening here will be the start of something monumental. I promise you that." Olivia continued filming, her camera locked on Mia. As thousands watched the live stream, they all felt it. Mia Bennett wasn't just standing up for herself, she was standing up for everyone who had ever faced injustice. In that moment, Mia became more than a woman, she became a symbol of resistance against discrimination and unfairness. And the thousands watching her on tiny screens placed their hope and trust in her. Mia knew this was just the beginning. A great battle lay ahead against the people before her and the flawed system they upheld. But she was ready. Because this time, she was no longer alone. As Mia Bennett's cold yet powerful declaration echoed through the hotel lobby, an unusual hush fell over the normally bustling space. Guests fell silent, their eyes fixed on her with a mix of anticipation and curiosity. In that brief moment, Mia became the center of attention, not because of her wealth or status, but because of the sheer strength of spirit she displayed in the face of blatant injustice and prejudice. But that silence shattered almost immediately. Jessica Morgan, who had stood beside Mark all along with an arrogant, self-satisfied air, could no longer contain her anger and indignation. To her, Mia's calm resistance was a blatant provocation, striking at the core of her fragile pride. Without waiting for Mark or Ryan to intervene, Jessica stormed forward. The sharp click of her high heels on the marble floor sounded like hammer blows. She planted herself inches from Mia, close enough for Mia to feel the heat of her fury in that razor-sharp gaze. "Have you said enough?" Jessica spat, each word punctuated like a blow. "We've politely asked you to leave, yet you stubbornly waste everyone's time." Before Mia could answer, Jessica yanked her arm in a harsh, provocative tug, as if trying to drag her out of the lobby right then and there. The force made Mia wheeze, but she refused to budge, her eyes locked onto Jessica's with a glacial calm that silently warned she had crossed the line. Gasps and murmurs of outrage rippled through the lobby. Guests began whispering, voicing their discomfort. Ethan Brooks and Olivia Gray closed in with their cameras, capturing every moment for their live stream. Ethan's voice trembled with anger as he narrated, "Do you see this? This is how Grand Skyline Hotel staff treat their guests, using force to drive them out." Viewers at home exploded in fury. Shares of the stream surged like a tidal wave, and thousands of critical comments flooded social media. "Unbelievable. This is beyond acceptable. A luxury hotel acting like this? I will never stay here." Amid the chaos, young receptionist Emily Davis stood frozen behind the desk, eyes wide with shock and dismay. She had only been at Grand Skyline for a few months and had believed this place embodied courtesy and respect. Now she saw Jessica's arrogance, Mark's cruelty, and Ryan's complicity, and her faith in the hotel's values crumbling. Shame and doubt swirled in her mind. Is this really the workplace I believed in? Is this what Grand Skyline stands for? Jessica still gripped Mia's arm, trying to force her forward. Yet Mia did not flinch. She met Jessica's gaze and spoke softly, but her words carried clear conviction. Jessica, I suggest you release me immediately. This will be the biggest mistake of your life. Blinded by rage, Jessica sneered back, each syllable dripping contempt. My biggest mistake would have been letting scum like you into this hotel in the first place. Olivia's live stream captured every word, fueling an even more furious backlash. Outrageous. How dare they humiliate her like that? Jessica Morgan, you'll pay dearly for this. Through it all, Mia remained composed, refusing to let Jessica's abuse shake her. But inside, she knew Jessica had crossed the final line, slipping from arrogance into outright aggression, from a petty mistake into career-ending disaster. Emily's heart pounded. She realized Jessica's actions weren't just unprofessional, they were a gross violation of the hotel's ethics and core values. It was time to choose, remain silent or stand up against this injustice. Emily understood that her decision could change not only her own fate, but the course of everything unfolding before her. The lobby had become more than a standoff between Mia and Jessica, it was now the battleground for a larger fight between truth and prejudice, courage and cowardice, genuine values and false assumptions. That fragile line awaited someone brave enough to cross it. And Mia Bennett knew she was no longer alone. In the tense moment that gripped the hotel lobby, Emily Davis felt her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She watched Jessica's hands clench Mia's arm roughly, Jessica's cruel words still echoing like a warning bell. And in that instant, Emily realized something crystal clear: she could no longer stand by and watch this injustice unfold without doing anything. Without another hesitation, Emily drew a deep breath, stepped out from behind the front desk, and strode between Mia and Jessica. Her voice trembled but rang with determination as she spoke, startling everyone around them. Jessica, please stop this at once. Miss Bennett did indeed reserve the penthouse suite. I personally verified her booking this morning. We are making a grave mistake. All eyes turned to Emily in astonishment. Jessica froze, eyes widening with fury at this unexpected challenge from a subordinate. Mark Sanders' face went from smug to furious in an instant. He stepped forward, his gaze like a dagger aimed at Emily. Emily, do you know what you're saying? Are you trying to ruin this hotel's reputation? If you dare interfere again, I will fire you right here. Mark's words were ice cold, but Emily stood her ground. She lifted her chin, her eyes burning with a newfound confidence she'd barely known she possessed. I'm prepared to face whatever consequences, Mr. Sanders. But I cannot let the truth be buried. What's happening here is wrong. We cannot treat a guest this way. Olivia and Ethan, still live streaming, moved closer to capture every detail. Ethan's voice, brimming with excitement and support, spoke into the camera. You're witnessing real courage from a hotel employee. Emily Davis is defending a guest, even as she's threatened with dismissal. This is true service spirit. Shaken by Emily's defiance, Jessica spun on her heel and snapped at Emily with venom. Emily, how long have you worked here, daring to lecture us? Step aside now, or you'll pay the same price she will. But Emily did not back down. She stood firm, locking eyes with both Jessica and Mark. If losing my job is the cost of standing up for what's right, so be it. But I will never be complicit in discrimination. Meanwhile, Mia remained utterly composed. Calmly, she retrieved her phone from her jacket pocket and made a call, with deliberate slowness, every action measured as if following a predetermined plan. Seconds later, a familiar voice answered, her personal assistant, Amanda Wilson. Miss Bennett, this is Amanda. How can I help? Mia spoke clearly and firmly, loud enough for Mark, Jessica, and Ryan to hear every word. Amanda, initiate the company's special protocol immediately. Gather all security camera footage from this hotel and upload it to our internal system. Then notify legal so they can prepare the full case. We'll need it today. Amanda's reply was concise and decisive. Understood, ma'am. I'm on it right away. At Mia's words, Mark's expression flickered with concern before he forced back his arrogance. You think a phone call will scare us? Don't be so deluded. But Jessica couldn't hide her unease. She released Mia's arm and instinctively took a step back, her confidence shaken. Ryan too recognized the gravity of the situation. He fell silent, anxiety creeping into his posture. Olivia moved her camera in close to Mia, capturing this critical moment. Her voice quivered with excitement. Folks, CEO Mia Bennett has activated Skyline's special protocol. That means every ounce of evidence of misconduct by this hotel's management and staff is being preserved. We're witnessing a major turning point. The lobby's atmosphere grew even more charged as nearby guests visibly sided with Mia and Emily. Some stepped forward to show their support and protect the two women standing up for justice. In that instant, Emily felt the warmth of courage and the power of solidarity like never before. She turned to Mia, her eyes shining with gratitude and awe. Thank you, Miss Bennett. I don't know if I would have had the courage to speak up without seeing your strength. Mia offered a gentle smile and placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. Her voice was sincere and uplifting. Emily, you are the bravest person here today. You've just proven that courage always triumphs over injustice. Now Mark, Jessica, and Ryan truly grasped the enormity of their mistake. The line they once thought thin had become an abyss, and with one more misstep, everything they'd built could vanish in an instant. But there was no turning back. Mia's decision had unleashed a wave of resistance, and the real battle for justice was only just beginning. The air in the hotel lobby grew heavier and more tense than ever. After Mia's decisive declaration, Mark Sanders stood frozen, a flicker of confusion crossing his face, something no one had ever seen before. His initial confidence was starting to crack as Mia's words were proven true. Every one of his actions was being carefully and clearly recorded. Across from him, Ethan Brooks never took his eyes off his phone, live streaming every detail. His gaze drifted to the cold steel safe behind the front desk, where Ryan Mitchell had brazenly stashed Mia's credit card. And suddenly, he realized something important. He swung the camera closer to the safe, adjusting the angle so viewers could clearly see the card inside. His voice broke the silence with excitement, broadcast live for everyone to hear. Everyone, I just discovered something huge. The credit card the hotel staff locked in the safe is a special VIP card labeled owner. That means the woman standing before us, Mia Bennett, is the owner of this Grand Skyline Hotel. Immediately, the lobby erupted in murmurs of shock and outrage. Mark Sanders, Jessica Morgan, and Ryan Mitchell all went pale, their eyes wide with panic as this shocking truth was exposed to both the on-site guests and the online audience. Mark stammered, trying and failing to regain his composure. No way, this must be a mistake, but his words were drowned out by the growing chorus of whispers. Ryan Mitchell trembled as he turned to Mark in alarm. Mark, the card really does say owner. I didn't check properly. Jessica, normally the most arrogant of the three, now looked horrified. She stumbled backward toward the desk, as if searching for something to steady herself. Yet no one dared come to her defense. Olivia Gray stepped closer to Mia, her camera focused on the hotel owner with unmistakable respect and admiration in her eyes. She inhaled deeply and proclaimed for all to hear, "Listen up, everyone. The woman you've just watched be insulted and mistreated by this hotel's staff is none other than Mia Bennett, the owner and CEO of Skyline Hospitality, which includes the very Grand Skyline Hotel we're standing in." Each word struck like a bullet to Mark, Jessica, and Ryan's pride. For a brief moment, time seemed to stand still as every gaze fixed on Mia, who stood tall at the center of a rapidly intensifying storm of public outrage. Nearby guests began to voice their anger and disbelief. Unbelievable. How could any staff treat their own CEO like that? I've stayed here countless times, but after this, I'll never come back. Some guests even moved forward to show solidarity with Mia and Emily. Miss Bennett, we're completely on your side. These people must be held accountable. Faced with the crowd's reaction, Mark was utterly at a loss. He scanned the room for support but found only accusatory and disappointed looks. In a moment of weakness, his voice dropped to a whisper, his arrogance gone. "Miss Bennett, I really didn't know who you were. It was just a small misunderstanding." Mia cut him off calmly but firmly. Words carrying undeniable authority. "A small misunderstanding, Mark? You call insulting and discriminating against a guest who happens to be your owner, a small misunderstanding?" Her voice did not waver. "This is exactly why I built this hotel chain, to ensure no one ever endures what you've put me through today." Her gaze swept over the 3 staff members as she continued, voice steady and resolute. "From this moment on, you will face the full consequences of your actions, and I promise that every guest who has ever been treated unfairly here will receive the justice they deserve." Instantly, hundreds of messages of support flooded Olivia and Ethan's live stream. "This is incredible. Now that's a true CEO, a symbol of fairness and courage. We stand with you, Mia Bennett. These people must be punished." As Mark, Jessica, and Ryan stood paralyzed by shock and fear, Emily Davis looked at Mia with shining admiration. She realized that her decision today, no matter the personal cost, had paved the way for the values Mia represented. In that moment, Mia knew she hadn't just turned the tide in a small battle, she had ignited a true revolution to overhaul a flawed system. And she was no longer alone. Her cold, powerful declaration sounded like a death knell for Mark, Jessica, and Ryan. In that moment, the busy lobby seemed to freeze. Every eye was fixed on the 3 employees who moments before had brimmed with arrogance and now wore only confusion and fear. Wasting no time, Mia turned to Emily and gave her an encouraging nod. Then she lifted her phone again and spoke to her assistant with sharper resolve than ever. "Amanda, I want you to terminate Mark Sanders, Jessica Morgan, and Ryan Mitchell from all our personnel and management systems immediately. Revoke their system access right now and notify legal to prepare their dismissal files." Amanda's clear, decisive reply came through instantly. "Yes, Miss Bennett. I'll take care of it right away." At that instant, Mark's phone buzzed wildly in his pocket. His system access had been officially revoked. Flustered, he pulled out his phone to find a bright red warning on the screen, "Your system access has been disabled." Mark's face went from ashen to beet red with rage and shock. He looked at Jessica and Ryan, each checking their own phones and realizing the same fate. The power they once wielded had vanished in an instant, leaving only the guests' disapproving stares and simmering anger. Jessica trembled, her eyes wide with fear and indignation. She stumbled toward Mia, her voice small and desperate. "Miss Bennett, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. This was all a misunderstanding. We never meant this to happen." Mia regarded her coldly but clearly. "Jessica, you've had countless chances to treat me, and every guest, properly. But your arrogance and prejudice blinded you. Now your apologies are far too late." Ryan rushed in, voice quivering, hoping for mercy. "We truly regret it. Please give us a chance to make this right." But Mia remained unmoved. Her gaze was icy, offering no forgiveness. Addressing everyone watching live, she announced, "I cannot tolerate a staff that scorns the fundamental values of hospitality. You are no longer fit to represent Skyline Hospitality." Mark, completely unmoored, made one last desperate plea. "You can't do this. I've managed here for years. You can't just destroy us over one small incident." Instantly, the guests erupted. "One small incident? You call discrimination and humiliation of a guest small? Unbelievable. I'll never return if these people remain employed." Olivia and Ethan captured every moment, their live stream flooding with thousands of comments praising Mia's decisive action. This is a real CEO, always on the side of what's right. Justice at last. Mia Bennett is amazing. Overwhelmed by the crowd's response, Mark staggered back, stunned. Jessica and Ryan hung their heads in utter shame. Nearby guests voiced their support for Emily Davis too. "Emily, that was brave of you to speak up. We're so proud of you." Emily smiled softly, warmth flooding her as she realized she had done the right thing, no matter the cost. Mia stepped forward, her voice ringing with final authority. Effective immediately, you three are no longer part of Grand Skyline Hotel or the Skyline Hospitality family. Remember today, the day your arrogance and prejudice cost you everything. A heavy silence fell over the lobby as Mia finished. Guests stood quietly, admiration and satisfaction in their eyes now that justice had been served. In that moment, Mark, Jessica, and Ryan understood they had not only lost their jobs but also their reputations and dignity before everyone present. Any further excuses or apologies would be meaningless. Their actions had crossed an irredeemable line, and they could only accept the irreversible consequences. In the suffocating silence that followed Mia's firm declaration, Emily Davis's quiet but resolute voice suddenly cut through the tension that filled the lobby. Her eyes shone with a mix of determination and long-pent disappointment as she fixed her gaze on Mark Sanders, now a broken shell of lost authority. "Miss Bennett," Emily began, her voice clear though tinged with emotion, "I think everyone needs to know what has really been happening here all this time." Every eye snapped to Emily. Mia offered her an encouraging nod, silently urging her to reveal the painful truths. Emily drew a deep breath, summoning her courage to continue. "Mark Sanders has discriminated against female guests more than once, especially those who dress plainly or are people of color. I speak from first-hand experience. I've seen it happen, and I've heard his instructions myself." A ripple of astonished whispers swept the lobby. Mark's face went pale as he stammered in denial. "What are you saying, Emily? Don't spread such outrageous lies." Emily did not flinch. Her eyes remained steady as she replied, "I'm not lying, Mark. Every time a woman or a guest of color makes a reservation here, you tell us, those people don't bring in profit. Always find an excuse to turn them away. Jessica and Ryan can confirm this too." Jessica suddenly broke down in tears, her shoulders trembling. The strength and arrogance she'd shown moments ago vanished entirely. Through her smeared makeup, she choked out, "It's true. I followed Mark's orders. He told me to judge guests by their appearance, their clothes, and their skin color. At first I refused, but he threatened to fire me if I didn't comply." Jessica's confession hit the lobby like a slow-moving bomb. Ethan and Olivia's live stream exploded with furious comments, and their viewer count spiked dramatically. Ryan stood motionless, his eyes cast down in shame. No words needed, the truth was clear. From the crowd of guests gathered nearby, a middle-aged woman stepped forward, anger etched across her face. "I was treated the same way here. When I came to check in, the desk told me my room had a technical issue, then handed it to a white guest right in front of me. A young man spoke up immediately, his voice equally angry. I was refused service at the hotel bar even though I was a paying customer. The only explanation I got was, 'Your appearance doesn't meet our standards.'" One by one, guests shared their own painful experiences, years of hidden indignities now laid bare for everyone to hear. Mark stood frozen, the weight of their accusations crashing down on him. He attempted a feeble defense, voice stripped of its former confidence. "You don't understand. I was just trying to maintain this hotel's upscale image. I never meant to hurt anyone." Mia cut him off in a cold, unwavering tone. "Mark, no upscale image justifies prejudice and injustice. Your actions violate the core ethics and values of Skyline Hospitality. No excuse is acceptable." Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as she added, pained but resolute, "I tried to raise these issues with management before, but Mark silenced and threatened me every time. I'm sorry I stayed quiet too long." Mia placed a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder, her voice soft but strong. "Emily, you have no reason to apologize. What matters is that you found the courage to speak up today. And because of you, these wrongs will never happen again." Olivia trained the live stream camera on Mia's face as she addressed thousands of viewers with heartfelt conviction. "Friends, this is the painful truth we cannot ignore. Thanks to the bravery of Mia Bennett and Emily Davis, these terrible secrets are finally revealed. Share this live stream far and wide so no one ever has to suffer like this again. Surrounded by the outpouring of accusations and outrage, Mark, Jessica, and Ryan stood utterly defeated. They realized that the injustices they'd hidden had now engulfed them in a pit of public shame. In that moment, Mia Bennett felt more strongly than ever the great mission and responsibility resting on her shoulders. She was no longer merely the owner of a hotel empire. She had become a powerful voice against injustice and discrimination, and she knew that from this point on, everything would change, and that would be her true measure of success. The moment Emily's and the guests' heart-wrenching testimonies rang out, a powerful wave of emotion swept through the lobby. The thick tension of moments before gave way to palpable unity and outrage. These awful truths could no longer be denied. Realizing control had slipped from his grasp, Mark Sanders took an unsteady step back, voice trembling as he barked at the security officers, "Security, remove these people from the premises immediately." But before they could move, something unexpected happened. One by one, guests began stepping forward to form a protective barrier around Mia Bennett. First came the middle-aged woman who'd spoken up, then the young man who'd been discriminated against, and then dozens more. Every guest in the lobby surged to Mia and Emily's side, their eyes burning with determination and solidarity. "Do you honestly think you still have the power to bully people, Mark?" the middle-aged woman demanded, her gaze locked on him. "We've seen enough. You will not continue this." An older gentleman approached Mia, calmly but firmly. "Miss Bennett, my wife and I have stayed here many times, but today we saw the ugly truth behind this hotel's facade for the first time. We stand with you, and I'm certain everyone here does too." Affirmations rose across the lobby, a wave of support stronger than anything before. Olivia and Ethan's live stream flooded with comments, "Look at them standing together. That's the real power of unity. Let them know we will never tolerate discrimination." Faced with that united front, the security team froze, uncertain. Even they looked embarrassed, realizing loyalty now lay with Mia Bennett, not the former manager. Mark Sanders stood paralyzed under the guests' furious stares. Minutes ago, he'd wielded absolute authority. Now, he saw that true power belongs to the trust and support of one's community, something he'd completely lost. Jessica Morgan, utterly broken, sank to the floor, tears streaming. Ryan Mitchell hung his head in hollow resignation, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Surrounded by their protectors, Mia Bennett stepped forward and surveyed the crowd with deep gratitude. For the first time, she truly felt the strength of strangers bound by a shared principle. When she spoke, her voice rang out with unwavering conviction, "Discrimination will never be allowed under this roof again." Her words echoed through the hotel like an unbreakable vow. Applause thundered. Eyes glistened with pride, and social media shares of the live stream spiked. This is the power of solidarity. A historic moment. Mia Bennett stood for us, and we stood for her. Olivia brought her camera close to Mia's resolute face. "Everyone, this is unity's true strength. We've just witnessed history." Mia Bennett rose for all of us, and we rose with her. Mark made one last shaky plea. You don't understand. I never meant," but the crowd drowned him out. "That's enough. We're done with your excuses. We don't want to hear another word from you." Mia gently raised her hand, calling for quiet. As the lobby hushed, she fixed Mark with a steady gaze and declared, "Mark Sanders, you made the grave mistake of believing that power could shield you from truth and justice. Today, these people have shown that true power lies in unity and in standing for what's right." She paused, eyes sweeping over the guests still protecting her. Her tone softened, but her resolve remained ironclad. "From now on, I promise you, this place will always stand for fairness, equality, and respect. This is not just my pledge, but the commitment of all of Skyline Hospitality." Thunderous applause and cheers answered her words. In that moment, everyone felt they'd become part of something bigger, not just defending Mia, but standing up for themselves and all who'd suffered injustice. And in Mia's eyes, there shone nothing but profound gratitude and an unshakable determination to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. As the thunderous applause and cheers from the guests began to subside, Mia Bennett drew in a deep breath, her eyes burning with steely resolve. She understood that although this battle had been won spectacularly, the journey to overhaul the entire system lay ahead, and it would be long and arduous. Turning to Emily Davis, still standing beside her, face alight with pride and emotion, Mia placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and announced, for all the guests and the thousands watching the live stream to hear, effective immediately, I am appointing Emily Davis as the new Director of Guest Services at the Grand Skyline Hotel. Emily has demonstrated undeniable courage, integrity, and dedication to our guests, and she absolutely deserves this position. Emily's face broke into a beaming smile of joy and surprise, her eyes sparkling like never before. Warm applause rippled through the lobby. Olivia trained her camera on Emily and called out proudly into the live stream, "You are witnessing a wonderful transformation, proof that bravery and honesty truly are rewarded." Amid the continuing excitement, Mia spoke into her phone to her assistant Amanda, who remained on the line. "Amanda, notify the entire Skyline Hospitality Network that we will begin comprehensive reforms today. I want a thorough audit of every hotel in our chain nationwide. Any instance of discrimination or cover-ups must be dealt with swiftly, transparently, and severely." "Understood, Miss Bennett," Amanda's voice rang out with equal determination. "I'll enact it right away." At that moment, Mark Sanders spoke up weakly from behind Mia, his voice trembling with desperation as he made one last plea. "You can't do this, Mia. I was just following orders from above. I'm not the only one to blame." Mia spun on him, her gaze ice cold. "What did you say, Mark? Who gave you these orders?" Mark, now stripped of arrogance, blurted out everything he knew, hoping to lessen his own culpability. "It was Patrick Harris, our former regional director. He kept insisting that we uphold the hotel's luxury image at all costs, and quietly deal with any guests who didn't meet those standards." The lobby erupted in shocked murmurs. Mia's brow darkened as she realized the gravity of this information. The problem extended far beyond one hotel, it had infected Skyline Hospitality's senior leadership. Emily leaned close, voice tinged with worry. "Miss Bennett, if Mark is telling the truth, this could affect many of our hotels. We have to act immediately." Mia nodded firmly, her eyes blazing with resolve. "You're right, Emily. No one can hide behind their position or power. Anyone, no matter their rank, implicated in discrimination or ethical violations must be held accountable by law and by our guests." She turned back to her phone, voice harder than ever, and issued her next order to Amanda. "Amanda, contact our legal department at once. Launch a full investigation into Patrick Harris and any other senior executives involved. Bring everything into the open. And if there's clear evidence, I want legal action to follow, no exceptions." "Absolutely, Miss Bennett." "I'll relay the message immediately," Amanda responded without hesitation. Olivia and Ethan's live streams flooded with messages of support and admiration from viewers nationwide. "This is incredible, exactly the leadership we need." Mia Bennett proves she's not only strong, but relentless in pursuit of justice. The atmosphere in the lobby crackled with tension and exhilaration. Mia surveyed the faces around her, fully aware of the immense responsibility now resting on her shoulders, but she knew she was not alone. The guests surrounding her, alongside Emily, Olivia, Ethan, and countless online supporters, all stood with her in this challenging undertaking. Stepping forward once more, Mia's voice rang out, strong and resolute, "Today we witnessed painful truths, but also an opportunity for profound change. I promise every one of you that Skyline Hospitality will become a symbol of fairness, equality, and absolute respect for every guest. We will not only transform this hotel, but our entire chain. And if necessary, we will change this entire industry." A final triumphant wave of applause and cheers swept through the lobby. In that moment, everyone knew they had witnessed history in the making, where justice and truth overcame discrimination and prejudice. And Mia Bennett, standing at the center of it all, was now more than the CEO of a major hotel group. She was the leader of a comprehensive reform, guiding the way toward a fairer, brighter future. Immediately after Mia's powerful declarations, the Grand Skyline's lobby was plunged into solemn silence. Every guest, staff member, and the thousands watching the live stream felt they were witnessing a historic moment, a turning point not only for the Grand Skyline Hotel itself, but for the entire Skyline Hospitality Group and more. Broadly for the hotel industry as a whole, Mia Bennett swept a determined gaze around the room, her heart pounding with each beat. Every face before her shone with belief and high expectations, reminding her of the immense responsibility she carried. Drawing in a deep breath, Mia spoke in a clear, gentle voice that nevertheless brimmed with uncommon strength and resolve. Today, we have risen up to stand against injustice and prejudice, but this is only the first step on the path to the change we all yearn for. From this moment forward, I hereby officially announce a comprehensive restructuring across the entire Skyline Hospitality Group. Every eye was fixed intently on Mia, and each word she spoke carried absolute sincerity and determination. We will immediately implement rigorous policies on fairness, transparency, and ethical conduct throughout our entire system. Every employee, from the highest executive to the newest staff member, will undergo mandatory training on equality, diversity, and inclusion. All customer complaints will be handled transparently and swiftly. Never again will painful experiences like those of the past have the chance to recur. The guests erupted into enthusiastic applause, their eyes reflecting profound faith in every word she spoke. Olivia moved the live stream camera closer to Mia, her voice trembling with emotion. Dear friends, we are witnessing a historic moment in which Mia Bennett and Skyline Hospitality are setting new standards for the entire hotel industry. Today is the day that respect and equality truly rise to the top. Mia gently raised her hand to quiet the crowd, and in an even more resonant tone, she shared a message that deeply moved everyone. True hospitality does not begin with a phony smile, it begins with genuine respect for every individual. That is something I learned all too well in the days when I slept in a cold car after being refused service. And that is precisely why I built Skyline Hospitality, to ensure that no one ever has to endure that loneliness and abandonment again. As Mia finished speaking, a thunderous round of applause erupted and continued unabated. More than a few guests were moved to tears by her heartfelt words. Emily Davis, standing beside Mia, could not hold back her own tears. She understood that from this moment on, her duty was not only to serve customers, but to uphold the core values Mia represented. Suddenly, from the back of the crowd, an elderly woman stepped forward toward Mia, her eyes brimming with emotion, her voice trembling with sincerity. Miss Bennett, I just want to thank you. I have stayed in many hotels in my lifetime, but I have never felt as heard and respected as I do today. What you have done has given me hope that there is still so much good left in this world. Those words touched Mia deeply. She took the woman's hand and replied, her voice filled with gratitude. No, I am the one who must thank you. It is thanks to people like you, those who stand up and speak the truth, that we can together build a better future. At that moment, on Olivia and Ethan's live stream, thousands of comments poured in, expressing deep admiration and gratitude. Mia Bennett has inspired us all on how to stand up against injustice. I will always support Skyline Hospitality, the place where true fairness is valued. Amid the powerful wave of emotion, Mia stepped into the center of the lobby, turned toward the cameras and everyone watching, and announced once more in a resolute voice. Remember, today is not the end. This is the beginning of a revolution for respect and equality in the hotel industry and beyond, in our community. I promise you all that Skyline Hospitality will never back down from this journey. Guests and staff alike rose to their feet, clapping and cheering loudly, the sound echoing through every corner of the lobby. Even the newly arrived front desk attendants behind the counter were moved to stand and applaud enthusiastically, showing their deep solidarity with Mia's message. Surveying the crowd, Mia felt an unprecedented sense of happiness and pride. The Grand Skyline was no longer just a place of luxury lodging, it had become the living embodiment of the highest values of fairness, transparency, and genuine respect among people. And Mia Bennett understood that the challenging journey ahead would hold many obstacles, but she was not alone. Thousands of people, guests, staff, and the wider community, stood with her. Together, they were not just building a hotel brand. They were building a more just, more compassionate, and more hopeful world. With that fierce faith and determination, Mia cast her proud gaze toward the future, smiled, and affirmed once more to everyone, "We will succeed, and we will change this world together." Thank you for joining Mia Bennett on this emotional journey through her story. We have seen that no matter the circumstances, courage, unity, and the determination to uphold justice always triumph. Remember, every small act against injustice can spark significant change in all our lives. What would you do if you witnessed an act of injustice like the one in this story today? Share your thoughts in the comments below.